Ready now. All right. Take two. Okay. So let's talk about their situation at work at UPS and um, your checks.
Right.
How's that going?
Bad.
Bad.
Bad. Very
Okay.
bad.
Okay. So
Sucks.
let's go back and how did it start bad?
So I go in.
Uh-huh.
First week I get back. They give me a check, like they should.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I asked about the week before I left. Not the week that I left in the middle of my work week, but the week prior, about the check, and they have not given me that specific check back. They've given me 2 checks so far over the span of 5 years. Or over the span of like the 5 years, they have failed to give me certain paychecks, but they gave me 2 in specific recently.
Okay.
And about 2 weeks ago, this is going to be the 3rd week.
Mm-hmm.
We had a new supervisor come in. She was real ditzy. We're bringing in a lot of new hires,
Right.
and it's that time of the season where I recognize nobody at my job anymore. It's all new people, and it's all like new supervisors too.
Mm-hmm.
So ditzy, clumsy, they're all over the place because they haven't worked here,
Right.
but they're in supervisor positions.
Right.
First week goes by, I don't get my check. I'm like, okay, maybe they forgot it. That happens. A lot of new hires are coming in. This isn't the first time they've had to do a mass scramble
Right.
for paychecks. But this last week came by and I'm like, okay, I was patient, but where's my checks now?
Did you ask before?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So
Yes.
you've been asking every
Yes.
week.
I've been asking every week.
Okay. Okay.
And last week, I told you they just weren't there. The supervisor just hasn't been there. So I don't know because they don't communicate with us anymore. That's their new thing. Nobody communicates with each other. There's no intercommunication.
Okay.
So I'm not really able to communicate with them, and they aren't communicating with us when we're switching supervisors.
Okay.
Which might be what happened. And now, this 3rd week, I still haven't gotten my checks from the past 2 weeks. And as yesterday I called the UPSers employee support line, which, mind you, was not functional about 3 months ago because I tried to call it before about my previous paychecks.
Mm-hmm.
But that number works now, and they told me to go to the same menu that allowed me to request an investigation on missing paychecks
Okay.
with the payroll.
Okay.
And so I've done that, so that's in their hands now.
Okay.
So now it's just a matter of, are they going to pay me this week? Am I going to get my paychecks this week?
Right. Okay. Wow.
And it's been like this for 5 years, so.
Yeah, and being such a big time company that handles so many.
Mail is their thing, right?
Right.
Getting these paychecks should be like.
Well, let's talk about why, first of all, I'm sorry that that's happening to you. That's the first thing. Because there's nothing worse than to work and not get paid your money. And I'm sure if you don't show up, they're quick to fire you, right?
Right.
But, if you're there showing up and you're not getting paid, I don't know how they expect you to live.
Right.
That's so not right. So
and
anyway.
You remember before where I was out of work for 2 whole weeks because they were
right.
dancing around my ID badge.
Right.
That was the big one for me. That made me go, oh, so they really, I knew they didn't care before, but now I know it's, not even of, a semblance of a priority.
Right.
They were more on me about not coming in than they were. I'm like, you need to come in, so I'm like, I can't. You aren't letting me come in.
I know.
My supervisor at the time, he's not there anymore, sadly. He quit, completely.
Well.
And, which reasonably so.
Right.
He was the one that like was fighting every higher floor of management to say he can't get into work. There is nothing he can do about this.
Right.
And
I'm
it almost
sorry.
Yeah.
It seems like it's a lot. It's a lot to deal with. So tell me a little bit about how you're handling this. I mean, there's a lot of frustration. How do you handle that frustration?
To phrase it in a way that I think works best for me, but I want to elaborate on,
Okay.
is I simply let it go. In the sense of not going, well, it's fine if I don't get my paycheck. No, I need that paycheck.
Mm.
I want that paycheck. I deserve that paycheck.
You work for it, absolutely.
Yeah. But by letting it go, I mean, I let go of the frustration tied to it. I let go of the ego and stress related to it. I understand the necessities of the check and that I need it, that I want it. But I detach the anger from it. I detach my frustration.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know that I'm doing all that I can. There's no point in beating myself up or getting super stressed out, because if I get this type of stressed, that's not bringing me any closer to getting my paycheck.
Correct.
And the more I act, the less likely people are willing to work with me.
Correct. And you have support at home.
Yeah.
So that's helpful.
It is very helpful.
So you're not needing anything.
Yeah.
And if you do need something, that's available to you, right?
Right.
Okay.
No, absolutely. I feel secure in this.
Okay.
But I still try to approach everything with the sense of, like, if I didn't have this supported system, I still try to keep myself in the mindset of, here's how I'm handling this, It's about something that I feel is important for me is always acknowledging that I have support.
Right.
Because if I just try to thug it out on my own, I'm not going to rely on that support system and I'm going to get worse mentally.
Right, exactly.
But at the same time, I try to approach it with that same diligence where I'm not comfortably falling back on it. I just know the support is there.
Right.
And that makes me, I've found, more willing to reach out for support or ask for it, because I know I used to be very insecure about asking for help because I was afraid that I would be perceived as being laid back or casual.
Mm-hmm.
So what I do to combat that with myself is I try to do everything within my power. And once I do everything within my power and I communicate that to my support system, I just kind of ease out, I don't let it build up. I don't let it tense up inside of me.
Okay.
And having the support system allows me to do that. Allows me to know everything's going to be okay. Everything is going to be sorted out. It's all going to work out.
And you believe that?
Yeah.
Good. What is your plan from here on out, now that you don't have the checks? Do you have a plan on how you're going to continue to pursue your, how you're going to pursue them? What, are you going to make phone calls? Are you going to send emails? Do you have a plan of how you're going to continue to keep them aware that, as the days progress and you still haven't gotten it, how are you going to address them? What's your plan on that?
I don't know why I stalled. I literally knew exactly what I was going to do. So right now, because I know how it takes about a week or two for them to do their payroll investigation, which I'm not stressed about that. Like, that is just a process they do.
Okay.
So if I don't get my check tonight, I've already come to terms with the fact that it may not be there.
Right.
Just in a But so if they don't come back with anything for me, I'm going to the Department of Labor. They will
After a week, you mean?
Yes, if they come back with nothing and I don't have
in a week, you're saying, not tonight.
Not tonight. Okay. Because I want to give the payroll people their time.
Right, exactly.
Because I've went through that process before and they were incredibly helpful.
Right.
So I don't want to, I don't want to cause any chaos.
Right. Who's the Department of Labor?
The U.S. Department of Labor think of it as a massive lawyer for every worker in the United States.
But you have a union.
Yeah, and they're kind of useless. The Department of Labor is a government department.
Oh, I see.
I go to them and say, hey, they're not paying me, and they're still not giving me my paychecks that I owed before.
Okay.
And they are going to smite them with the wrath of God.
You hope.
Yeah, no.
Because they have to do their own investigation.
Yeah, they'll have to do their own
Have you investigated that aspect of it? That's how you know?
Yeah.
You already explored that?
Yeah, no, I've talked to people.
Oh, you've talked to some people?
Yeah, I've talked to people at work, and they say, go to the U.S. Department of Labor.
Oh, that's a good idea.
I've also talked to a few of my friends that work in trade that are a bit older than me, and they say, the U.S. Department of Labor, just make sure the air is completely clear.
Right.
Just keep being calm. Don't do anything. Don't say anything. Like, that's why that's also part of my relaxed approach is I'm being very hands-off.
Mm-hmm.
Because the more hands-off I am, the weirder UPS looks.
Exactly.
And that means the U.S. Department of Labor's investigation go through a lot more thoroughly.
Right. Very, very nice.
Yeah.
Very good. That's smart.
Yeah.
Smart. So you're doing your homework. You're being very...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You have to, unfortunately, even though it's wrong on their part, without a doubt.
It's a massive corporation. It's something I feel more people working with them, working in these kinds of jobs, should expect and know how to fight against.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point. How do you feel about that?
About
working for a big corporation like that and having to
right.
You know, it's like a catch-22, right?
Right, like having to defend myself.
To work for them.
Yeah. It's very, very stupid, but it's not as draining as a lot of people make or tend to have it be on them. Because for me, at the end of the day, like, if I want to quit, I will quit. I know how to get a job somewhere else. There's plenty of places within walking distance that pay less, but I would make more. Because at UPS, one other thing is the wages have gotten really bad. Like, they suck now. We're making like 20-something an hour now, but I'm making less than I was working for 19 an hour.
Right.
So it's like, and I'm doing more work. They're sending us in later.
Yeah, you can work like for T-Mobile and make 10 times more.
I could work at that Taco Bell over there and make around the same money.
Right.
So again, that's another thing is like, you know, I mean, it's like, I have other opportunities. It's just
and you have been working for that company for 5 years.
Yeah.
So you have a good rapport. You have good work history.
Yeah, no.
You have good skills.
It wouldn't be like someone working.
You have good education. I would. Yeah. You're not bound.
Right.
If you wanted to do that, you have support at home.
Right.
That would allow you to make that shift if you wanted. Right.
Right.
Okay.
And the other thing with UPS is, sorry, I'm trying to I'm like clinging to the thought balloon. It's, with UPS, a lot of the benefits I've gotten from working there for 5 years just aren't applicable anymore.
Right.
Like, they just gutted overtime.
Right.
Overtime just isn't a thing anymore.
Wow.
And I used to be getting paid 3 times.
Yes, I remember.
For overtime.
I remember.
So now, and they have us working overtime almost every night. We going past 3, we go in 9:45 and 9:30.
So now you guys don't get overtime anymore?
Yeah, no, because they made our wages higher, but by gutting overtime, we're making less. That's also why I don't really rely on our union. I love the Teamsters, I love Local 58. They're very good at strong-arming the business end. Like, they are why we got, we kept our insurance.
Right.
But when it comes to the specific small drop-down, you know, like me and specific workers are kind of useless. Like, I remember having to fight tooth and nail on my own because the union was useless about my medical records that UPS has on hand.
Right.
Like, when that one, I remember telling you, the one who was like, yeah, well, we don't have proof of your medical records. I'm like, you better have them. That is, the Lloyd's Dietz and aortic stenosis aren't something that wears off after a few years. That's
right.
You need to know that's there. That's not on me anymore.
Right, exactly.
I was like flabbergasted when I heard it. I was like, No, you have those.
Mm.
I remember walking out that day. Just walking out that night. No, I'm not doing teabag. I have a medical condition. You can't make me do it. And I just left it.
Right. Wow. That's tough. You know that if you don't work for UPS, you can always get health insurance from John's insurance.
Right.
So you don't ever have to worry about not having. You have health insurance through him till you're 26.
Right. And I still got a good few years on
Yeah,
that.
so you have 3 more years.
Yeah.
So, if you get in on like somebody like T-Mobile, I say T-Mobile because they have really good benefits and they have really good pay.
Wow, really? Wow.
Yeah, John considered going over there, but he's got a really good thing going on now.
Right.
But just a thought.
Yeah, no, I'll consider it. I've been thinking about it too. It's like
Just a thought, especially now in the holidays. A lot of these companies,
yeah,
you know how it is. But anyway,
yeah,
it's really up to you what you decide. Just be careful, because sometimes these companies, they do these mass hires.
Yeah.
In the holidays, and then when the holiday time is over, and then you don't have employment. So be careful with mass hiring right now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I would think about after.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? After the holidays, because even UPS does that, doesn't it? They do that through peak. They have this mass hiring, and then after peak.
Well, no, UPS doesn't fire anyone after peak.
Don't they lose a ton of people?
They do, but that's because a lot of people just quit right after.
I see. Okay.
That's the difference with UPS. That's like why I'm still there after 5 years, is because they let the job itself filter people out.
Right. Well, yeah. That too. These jobs are hard.
Yeah.
They're very difficult jobs. That's the reason why. I personally think that's why there's such a high turnover rate.
Yeah.
Because they are hard.
They cripple you. If you aren't. One of the really dark things I feel about, especially the work culture here in Louisville, I felt this for years, ever since I was 18, just noticing all these factory jobs specifically sprouting up. Work for us and we'll pay for your college if you work in these fields.
Right.
And a lot of those fields just feed back into their system.
I saw that too when I first got here.
And now that it's kept going, it's like, oh, okay, so this is just like kind of enslavement. You know, you're just...
It's a monopoly. It's
a monopoly.
Definitely a monopoly.
It's a monopoly, and it's... Like, again, I get it. It's an opportunity, but it's dark. It's really dark to see.
It is. It is. It's definitely a monopoly in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
You see it in the medical industry, big time here. Like those 3 major hospitals.
Oh, yeah, they have that bottleneck grip.
Yeah, and it wasn't like that 20 years ago.
Right.
20 years ago, there was medical practices that belonged to private practices, and now you don't even see a private practice.
No.
Very far few in between.
And that's because of the whole insurance stuff.
Yeah, it's very, very, very crippling. But, how are you taking care of yourself? Emotionally, self-care wise?
Oh, I've been doing really good emotional self-care.
Tell me about your self-care.
A lot of my self-care is just, doing more art, working on stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want to say keeping myself busy, because I feel like that phrase has a negative connotation.
Well, what I mean by self-care is more like meditation, eating well, taking care of yourself, giving yourself time to relax, decompressing. Artwork I know you love, but outside of the
outside
artwork.
Of that, I take a shower, I relax, do meditation. It's...
How do you decompress? When you come home at 5 a.m. in the morning, you have to decompress.
Right.
Because it's 5 a.m. in the morning.
Right, at 5 a.m.
I mean, it's easy for John. John just hits his head on the pillow and he's out cold.
For me, well, I mean, last night when I came home, a friend of mine was trying to pull an all-nighter to fix their sleep schedule. So I just stayed up with them playing this one game with them for like a few hours.
That's a good idea. See, that's that's a way of decompressing.
Last night, too, when I came home, I decompressed by just finishing up some art stuff I was working on.
Okay.
Getting some, I finally got a certain thing to look how I really wanted that looked unique, and felt so good to finally get done, and I immediately just went,
oh, that's nice.
Yeah, no, the art is a very big way of how I decompress it.
Excellent, excellent.
It's kind of an all-in-one deal, but of course I have other things I do outside of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, that's why the art is so important to me, because it is...
Oh, yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
But I do stuff outside that.
It's important that you do.
Yeah, no, I have a balance. I have a healthy balance.
Do you get any exercise? I know that you walk all over UPS.
Yeah.
Do you do any exercise on your own?
I still do the sun salutations every morning.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do the meditation, low sun salutation.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, UPS is already a pretty big workout.
I know.
When I went to see Tristan, everyone kept talking about how, like, physically toned I was. They were like, oh my god, they're like, your back is insanely toned. And I'm like, what? Like, oh, wow, okay, so that job was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a tough job. A lot of people couldn't do it. Well, at least they do it for a little while and then they quit because their bodies can't handle it. And, but you take care of yourself, you know, be careful with that. Let's see how our time is doing here. I think we're good.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Gabriel. I appreciate it.
Of course, ma'am.
Thank you.
I love you.